Apple's smart glass revolution is here.
Hello, welcome to the All Future Podcast. We're here multiple times a week talking about all kinds of things coming in the future, including things that are unlikely, but also things that I think are very likely, like some smart glasses from Apple. If you're into hearing about that stuff, hit that subscribe button, man. Come back here. Let's talk more about wearables and other dumb stuff that is expensive and helps us just somehow soothe the void of existence. So today, rumors about Apple glasses, right? But we got to set the stage here a little of where we are at with these wearables, okay? I think there's a few just elephants in the room that you happen to be kind of an expert on, okay? There's the Apple Vision Pro of everything, right? And where that lands in all this conversation. And then there are things that are the much lighter kind of really designed to wear all the time AR world stuff, or not necessarily AR, but smart glasses wearable kind of world, like the Meta Raybands, something you also own and use. So let me hit you with it from the top. You're sitting there with probably the most advanced face visual wearable thing currently available to consumers, the Apple Vision Pro, and with probably maybe the most stripped down version of kind of the smart glasses wearables world with the Meta Ray-Bans. Who's heading in the right direction here? like which one of these things are you actually using? Which one of these things are you actually enjoying using? And where do you think Apple needs to lean more toward?
That's a good question. I would say most people are going to like using the Ray-Bans much more because they're much less invasive. It's not this big thing on your head. So I think like you have Apple Vision here, Ray-Bans here, and like the product people actually want is in the middle somewhere because the Ray-Bans are cool, but they are limited to a certain degree. You are limited by your phone's connection speed and stuff for any of the AI features. It's cool that it can take photos and all this stuff, but, you know, it has, like, length limits. It has battery life limits. The speakers are very good and cool, but also not very bassy, so you're not actually going to want to listen to music, like, full time on it, I don't think. At least most people aren't, especially when you just have AirPods that are way better than those speakers. So there's a lot of things that you want improved there, but then on the Apple Vision side, like this is a completely isolating device. They tried to make it not. The pass-through is incredible. It's really good, but it's still a pass-through. You know it's a pass-through, and people with you know it's a pass-through, even though you have some creepy AI eyes on the front screen right now. So I think somewhere in the middle is where this category ends up with people actually buying it. But this technology is there. It's developing, and engineers are playing with it, so we're going to see products. This is the future whether we like it or not is kind of how I see it. But I have use cases for each one, but the Apple TV is a lot more entertainment-based or laying in bed based for me at this point. If I want to zone into a movie fully,
can I hit
might
you with
do
something?
that.
Because you just had a Freudian slip. You called it the Apple TV and not the Vision Pro.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but I think that kind of speaks to the point. And I know, probably some people would disagree with my premise at the top of my question that the Vision Pro is a AR wearable and not, I don't know, a stationary VR headset or something like that. But it's designed to overlay things on the real world, regardless of whether Apple wants you to walk around with it or not. So I think it is fair to make these comparisons. And you basically you literally called it an Apple TV just now, and just described your use case as an Apple TV you can wear on your face, which this seems pretty indicative of the failure of this device. And I think at this point it's okay for us to say that. Like it seems to be a thing people, when they use it, they go, "That's cool." But a thing that a lot of people are not coming back to again and again. And then obviously a thing that has not sold a lot. And yeah, so hearing your experience with it, I think you're indicative of the population as a whole. Whereas, and I cut you off before you got to it, like, how are you using your Ray-Bans? And is that, I don't know, like if you're talking to people about cool stuff, are you thinking about the Ray-Bans a little bit more and going like, oh, this is neat?
Yeah, the Ray-Bans are a little more I'm more fine using it more, I guess, because it's less invasive. It really can just be a pair of sunglasses that happens to ding when I turn them on, and then I forget that I even have them on, and that's pretty cool. But then you just talk and you say Meta look or Meta take a photo or these things, or you press the button take a photo. I've used them at gigs, which is kind of cool, playing drums and taking videos of me at the drums. It's a cool perspective, but it is still a little weird. Like I like to talk to the musicians ahead of time to mention that I'm doing it, of course, because otherwise then you just randomly look over and they're like playing with you, and then it's like, oh, you're filming me, okay,
Well, and you're wearing
you know.
sunglasses on stage at night, and they're like, "Oh, who's this jerk off? Like, what are you doing? You're not that cool, Ryan. What are you doing, man?"
Well, to be fair, mine are transitions, so they're just glasses. But I don't wear glasses, so all of a sudden I have glasses on, and then there's a little blinking light, you know.
Hmm.
So it, but just going around nice areas where you want to take photos, but you don't want to be taking your phone out is where I'm using it so far. And then asking questions about where you're at is pretty cool. So it's like a really cool tourist device at this point for me. Um, I still find like GPT's voice and everything is much better than the Meta one, but if it can get to that kind of level, which they're planning to improve, it would be really, really cool, I think, if you could be asking detailed questions about your environment. But I think basically it's a better product, more inviting for people because one, it's literally 1/10 the price of the Apple Vision, and two, it's just less invasive. It's like it's adding to your experience, but you're still very much there as opposed to closing off.
Right. And it seems like the other kind of tech people, like tech companies, whatever, conglomerates, corporations, they're definitely, I mean, they let Apple kind of just be the sacrificial lamb in this, and they're are leaning more toward what these Ray-Bans kind of are in a lot of ways. I know there's these rumors of these Samsung glasses coming, which seem to be kind of what we think of as traditional smart glasses, not a giant AR VR headset like the Vision Pro is, which
Hmm.
doesn't surprise me because I mean Samsung. If there's a product category, Samsung's going to be in it. That's just how that's their business model, regardless of how many units they sell. You know, like they're like if someone makes it,
Hmm.
we're going to make it too, right? And, and so that doesn't surprise me at all. There's also other competitors already out there. These things called the Rocket glasses, which I've used. And that disclosure, they have sponsored ads on YouTube channels that I own, not stuff that I appear on camera on, but other YouTube channels and different verticals and stuff. And they kind of the same kind of thing where the technology isn't there to make those dream AR glasses yet. So you got to like
Hmm.
manufacturers kind of have to decide, well, what are we going to make then? And I think what they did the Meta side with the Ray-Bans, they said, hey, well, we're going to have a camera and a multimodal AI question answer system. Boom, that's what we're going to have. And so they committed to that. With things like the Roku,
Hmm.
they're like, well, we're going to commit to having a screen on the inside for entertainment value type stuff. So you can watch movies on it or hook it up to, say, like a Steam Deck and play games, like mobile games on it. And it, seem like a big screen in your face instead of the small portable screen. But none of them really fulfill the dream version of this thing. And I think the only thing we've really seen that even comes close, and it's not in production, is the Meta Orion system, which is like that real dream glasses, ask it anything. It has the screens show you anything, like the straight up sci-fi version of it. But that's still a few years away.
Yeah, I am curious to see what these Google glasses are, or Samsung glasses, I guess, are. It seems like it's going to be their version of the exact same thing. So you have the Meta glasses integrating Meta stuff and their ecosystem, but then Meta AI. And then you have Google Gemini would be coming to these Samsung glasses. So it's all going to be kind of the same features, just from these other companies, their different version of these ecosystems. And so ultimately, when you look into the future, of Apple, one, probably showing up late to this market and then trying to make something great. The difference, it's going to be kind of probably that iMessage type effect where it's like, yeah, the features are exactly the same or they're not much better than these other companies, but it has iMessage, like that kind of thing. It has the Apple ecosystem. It has these things that it automatically hands off to my phone. It automatically does all this stuff that I'm used to for years. It's great.
And I mean, if you look at, there's a reason Apple spends hundreds of millions of dollars defending the ecosystem in courts, right? Because that's the whole strength, right? Like I think you can argue that there's plenty of individual products in every product category that can function better than the Apple version of it, at least in a specific way, you know? But in the holistic way, when you look at the entire product and what it can do as a whole and how it can integrate with the ecosystem, Apple always wins, right? And that's been the story for the last decade. But you know, as that starts to get eroded and these new categories come up that Apple doesn't seem to be like they were fully ready for. I think I mean, we talk about the AI all the time, and Apple wasn't really ready for AI. You can talk about its wearable market as well with the AI integration stuff. Like clearly Vision Pro wasn't made to be a multimodal AI system. And that's what these other glasses and wearables are looking to be. But another thing I think to think about though, and I've mentioned this before, do people even want to wear a thing on their face? Is that a thing people even want? Because if you look at every time a product involves wearing a thing on your face, it doesn't seem to do so well. And I think you can look at, say, the Snap glasses. I don't know if you remember those. Right? So this is at the height of Snapchat popularity. So it's pre-TikTok. And these things were like exclusive to get. It's this cool thing. And then kind of just goes by the wayside. You had Google Glass before that. Which was a wearable smart system that was I mean, that was 10 years ago at this point, at least almost 10 years ago.
Did you ever
maybe.
get to use Google Glass?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely used it. I was doing tech YouTube at the time. So I was, you know, it was still it was a very different environment than it is now, but it was that, yeah, like it was, I used Google Glass several times, which for you guys that don't remember it, it was like, you know, it was a band like glasses, but it wasn't lenses. It had like just a little screen kind of in the corner that you could look at and cameras and mics and stuff built into it. It sucked. It was not cool. But, you know, you could see the vision, I guess, to use a pun. And even before that, 3D TVs. like people didn't even want to put on glasses in their houses to watch things in 3D. So I think there seems to be a running theme here with products, with consumer products. Oh, you can even more modern stuff and the slow adoption of VR and how VR in the tech sector and in the tech kind of journalism sector, everyone's like, this is so cool. This is the best. And you can think of all those VR systems that were super hyped up. HTC had a system, you know, and even the console makers, right? There's a PlayStation VR system. And then, of course, with the Oculus, which eventually get bought by Meta and all that. And really, the Oculus is the only thing still kind of standing in that. I know you can get other systems still, and PlayStation still sells their thing. But if I'm not mistaken, PlayStation actively is not developing any more games for PlayStation VR, or at least has pulled a ton of the funding for it. Because people just don't seem to want it. People just don't seem to want it.
Yeah.
So that brings me to my next kind of thing is if we're talking about wearables, is really the watch where it stops. Like, does it stop there, right? Like, do people even want? I mean, smart rings are kind of a thing, right, with the Aura. But do people even want to get into that, man? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, the rumor right now, apparently the Aura themselves somewhat said that they don't think Apple's going to get into the ring space. There have been rumors that Apple would enter that space, but Aura is basically like they would kill their watch sales, which, I think there's too much product overlap there. And when it's just a small ring versus a watch that can have like long battery life and a screen and all this stuff, I assume their margins are just gonna be better on a watch than a ring. And not everyone wants to wear a ring if you're not used to wearing a ring, or if you're not replacing your ring that you're used to wearing with a smart ring. So that seems like a particular wearable that Apple might not end up diving into.
Well, absolutely not, right? And I'll tell you why I don't think Apple will get into it. I'm sure they prototyped it and stuff, right? There's no App Store, man. There's no App Store on it because there's no screen, right? And Apple's not going to make a thing without an App Store, right? Like services. That's where Apple's making the vast majority of their revenue, right? So I say vast majority, a huge chunk of their revenue. And so the watch, at least you can, what do you, can have with the watch, right? You got all the apps and all that ecosystem, right? So you're taking that sweet 30% cut from higher end developers and less from lower end, whatever it is, right? And then what else do you get with the watch? You get the entire first party accessory market, all their watch bands and everything that they sell. You get the entire secondary accessory market where people pay to get that, have that little thing that says like approved by Apple or whatever, Apple approved accessories, paying that licensing fee. So that thing, the watch is an ecosystem of revenue. What are you gonna sell with a ring, right? And ultimately, I think Aura is right in a way, right? Is that I don't think it is. They think about it as cannibalizing watch sales. I don't think Apple even cares about cannibalizing sales of one of their products, right? Because if the money's going to them either way, they're like, oh, it's all good. But what do those rings even get you, right? They gives you it's the health sensors, right? So that's the big thing, really. That's the main thing they give you, and then you can get NFC kind of readers in it, things that help with like gesture controls on different devices and things like that. So I could, but I just don't see money in that space. So that's why I don't think Apple really wants to deal with it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Like when they have their WWDC and they announce all their watch OS, Apple TV OS or TV OS, iOS, iPad OS, what is Ring OS? What can it bring? And it would just be different ways it can use the same sensor.
Yeah, like we're introducing 4 more vibration modes to the Ring. Like, what? Like, no one's gonna like. There's nothing you can do here, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's a super good point, and I guess that to me kind of details why they would go in the direction of only visual. Like, they're probably not going to go smart glasses until there can be a screen integrated. So you have Meta, you have Samsung working on smart glasses that would compete with that and probably not have a screen. But Apple probably still wants to go with a screen. And the latest rumors are that 2026 is when they're hoping for mass production of a form of smart glasses that will still use micro LED. So it's a different display tech than the Orion glasses we saw from Meta. But they're hoping to still make these come 2026. And then basically, I think it would be everything we're expecting. So a lot of Apple Intelligence and Apple Intelligence visual features. So I don't think those ones are out yet past beta. Are they? Do you have the one where you press and hold the camera control button and then you can get to visual intelligence?
I did not. Do you have that?
Yeah.
I say that I might and just haven't used it yet. But I don't think so.
We talked about it on a previous episode, but it's kind of funny because it's an app, I think you said, that someone could have made in a day, where it's visual intelligence, but it really is just, you can do 2 things. You can ask AI about it, which puts it out to ChatGPT, and then you can Google reverse image search from the photo that you take. So it's not actually, the only thing is that it's built in right there, and it's just farming it out to these other services. But yeah, once they develop those features, the idea is the glasses would be able to do these things on the fly and give you visual info on your face.
Yeah. Yes, and that's why, I do think there needs to be an AI sensor in wearables, right? I'm just not sold if it's the glasses. I think people are going to be uncomfortable with glasses. I think people are going to be uncomfortable with other people having glasses that are constantly scanning the environment. I've always said that I like sensors on the watch. I like a camera on the watch, specifically for multimodal AI, not to take photographs, right? Because you've got to be slightly more convenient than taking out your phone, but not inconvenience me in any other way. And I think wearing glasses for some people feels like an inconvenience to them. Whereas if it's on your watch, you can choose when you're bringing it up. And so I think it can integrate into society a little better than glasses with the cameras on them.
Yeah. So you're a glasses wearer. I am not a glasses wearer. So when I have the Meta Raybands on, even though they're clear, they're clean, everything, there's just that certain level of filter that it's like, I have something on my face and I'm not using my eyes directly to see the world. And I think that's the thing.
I wear glasses. I'm nearsighted. So like in this situation where I'm sitting right in front of the camera here, like I don't need them, so I don't put them on, right? Like I literally only put them on when I need them, which is usually when I'm driving and if I'm watching a movie, right? Like otherwise, yeah, I just don't like having something on my face, right? I just,
Hmm.
yeah, you got to worry about it. There's so many things to worry about, like how they fit on your face, if they're gonna like fall, especially if you got to put a bunch of weight in them for sensors and all that kind of stuff. And then it's a struggle to pick out glasses that look good on your face, right? Like everyone has a different face type.
Hmm.
Like, so what is Apple going to make 47 different face designs? People already complain about AirPods. Like, you can imagine like the different types of glasses you would need. Like, some people are like, oh, well, I don't like the metal prongs. I want the plastic ones. Oh, I don't like the plastic ones. I want like Wayfarer style surfer ones. No, I want aviator ones. No, I want retro thick rim ones. Like, it gets crazy. It just gets real crazy at that point. Um, I think beyond the scope that people, I think it's a difficult market. Is all I'm saying. I think Apple
Yeah.
is going to try to develop this thing. I think they probably will, but I think the jury is still out over if people actually want this stuff or not.
Yeah, they have to really get it to a level to where you can completely feel like you're in your space and there's no distractions and nothing displayed. And then you can integrate that and it really feels integrated within your environment, not like interrupting it or thrown on top or like now you're seeing the whole world through a filter. Because I think the Meta Ray-Bans are the closest we're getting because it's a pair of Ray-Bans. They're a little thicker,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like this is just a pair of glasses and then it happens to add these features. So putting them on isn't that crazy if you're used to wearing glasses or just wearing sunglasses and you want to wear them for a little bit. But it's still like you're saying, even with development here, it feels like it's a long way off from when it can get very popular because there's always that filter, that level where people just do not want to wear something on their face.